I've been asked to welcome everybody on behalf of the three groups that organize this event: the Japanese Cultural Association of Manitoba, Project Peacemakers, and Peace Alliance Winnipeg. We're here tonight to commemorate the lives that were lost on August 6th and August 9th, 1945, when two atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This killed tens of thousands of people instantly, many more in the days, months, and years that followed. Hundreds of thousands were left with long-term injury and lifetime harm as a result of this intentional act, a choice that was made in 1945 that was the result of a series of decisions and actions for years leading up to that happening. Since that time, some other choices have been made. Some of those have included the continuation of nuclear testing that have harmed the health and destroyed the environment for very many people, caused displacements and harm for many. Some other decisions have included nuclear proliferation. But what is good for us to remember tonight is that it has also happened that for these 69 years, there has not been another occasion in which an atomic bomb has been dropped on a city. In the forefront of the work to prevent this from happening have been the survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, younger generations of people from those two cities, the leaders and members of Japanese communities all around the world who have worked for 69 years to make certain that what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki will not happen to more people anywhere in the world. We have a great debt of gratitude to the people who've done this work and to people who've worked in nuclear disarmament all of this time. One of the things that give us strength as we look forward to many more years of this work is the Mayors for Peace initiative that was created by the mayor of Hiroshima in 1982. It is a wide movement that's not just of mayors, but of the people of cities in 160 countries and includes more than 6,000 mayors around the world. They're wanting to prevent this from ever happening again to citizens, to civilians, anywhere in the world. We're very pleased tonight to have with us a message that's going to be presented on behalf of Winnipeg by Brian Mays, the Councillor for St. Vital. Brian?
I'm here to bring greetings on behalf of the mayor and the other city councillors on this occasion. And it's been a week or a month where there's been a lot of discussion of war and I think appropriately remembering the First World War and the anniversary. But I think, and we've certainly taken steps to commemorate those events. And in my own ward, we recently opened a World War II war memorial. But I think it's also important to remember the other side of the discussion and to celebrate peace, to celebrate the work that's been done to prevent a reoccurrence of the events of 69 years ago, and to make sure that people don't forget what actually happened in a urban setting to the victims on those days back in August of 1945. I'm very pleased that the Japanese Canadian Cultural Association is part of this as well, and we've, as a councillor, one of the interesting things is you're always learning. I'm 52, and part of this, the interest in this job is you keep learning new things. And certainly before I was elected, I didn't know about the Japanese-Canadian experience in Manitoba, in Winnipeg during the Second World War, and that internees came from BC to Manitoba and to Winnipeg and worked, many of them in the sugar beet fields. And that's something that this council and something I've tried to champion is that we will be commemorating that experience as part of the Plaza station that's part of the new bus rapid transit network that's going in. You won't see that, unfortunately, until about 2019. Those stations won't be fully open and operational, but that part of the Japanese-Canadian experience is something we wanted to commemorate and honor as part of opening up that new transit line, because there is the one station that's right by the sugar beet lands, and that is a very important part of the Japanese-Canadian experience here in the city of Winnipeg during the Second World War. So I don't want to try and draw larger conclusions or themes or connect today's events or the memories here with current events. I think this event stands on its own merits, and that the events of 1945 are of such historical import that we need to sort of consider them on their own merits and to make sure we continue to remember those events and to honor peace. And with that, I think the ceremony is very appropriate. And again, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me here. I certainly think it's an important event, and I hope in future years I'll be fortunate enough to be invited back as a councillor. Thank you.
We're now going to have the 2014 message from the Mayor of Hiroshima read to us by Harun Kibarige, who's a member of Winnipeg's Muslim community who chose to come here from Uganda and who works with the Islamic Social Services Association. Harun?
Thank you. Good evening. Hiroshima Peace Declaration, 2014. Summer, 69 years later. The burning sun takes us back to that day, August 6, 1945. A single atomic bomb renders Hiroshima a burnt plain. From the infants to the elderly, tens of thousands of innocent civilians lose their lives in a single day. By the end of the year, 140,000 have died. To avoid forgetting that sacred sacrifice and to prevent a repetition of that tragedy, please listen to the voices of the survivors. Approximately 6,000 young boys and girls died removing buildings from fire lanes. One of them was a 12-year-old junior high school student at the time, and this is what they had to say. Even now, I carry the scars of war and that atomic bombing on my body and in my heart. Nearly all my classmates were killed instantly. My heart is tortured by guilt when I think of how badly they wanted to live and that I was the only one who did. Having somewhat survived, Hibakusha still suffer from severe physical and emotional wounds. Water, please. Voices from the brink of death are still lodged in the memory of a boy who was 15 and a junior high student. The pleas were from younger students who had been demolishing buildings. Seeing their badly burned, grotesquely swollen faces, eyebrows and eyelashes singed off, school uniforms in ragged tatters due to the heat ray, he tried to respond, but was stopped. Give water when they're injured that bad? They'll die, boy. So I closed my eyes and refused them water. If I had known that they were going to die anyway, I would have given them all the water that they wanted. Profound regret persists. People who rarely talked about the past because of their ghastly experiences are now in old age starting to open up. I want people to know the true cruelty of war, says an A-bomb often. He tells of children like him living in cities of ashes, sleeping under bridges, in the corners of burnt-out buildings, in bomb shelters, having nothing more than clothes on their backs, stealing and fighting to eat, not going to school, barely surviving day to day, working for gangsters. Immediately after the bombing, a 6-year-old first grader hovered on the border between life and death. Later, she lived a continual fearful struggle with the radiation after effects. She speaks out now because I don't want any young people to go through that experience. After an exchange with non-Japanese war victims, she decided to convey the importance of young people making friends around the world and uneasing efforts to build not a culture of war, but a culture of peace. The absolute evil that robbed children of loving families and dreams of the future, plunging their lives into turmoil, is not susceptible to threats and counter-threats, killing and being killed. Military force just gives rise to new cycles of hatred. I repeat that. Military force just gives rise to new cycles of hatred. To eliminate the evil, we must transcend nationality, race, religion, and other differences, value person-to-person relationships, and build a world that allows forward-looking dialogue. Hiroshima asks everyone throughout the world to accept this wish of the Hibakusha and walk with them the path of nuclear weapons abolition and world peace. Each one of us will help determine the future of the human family. Please put yourself in the place of the Hibakusha. Imagine their experiences, including that day from the depth of hell actually happening to you or someone in your family. To make sure the tragedies of Hiroshima and Nagasaki never happen a third time, let's all communicate, think and act together with the Hibakusha for a peaceful world without weapons and without war. We will do our best. Mayors for Peace, now with over 6,200 member cities, will work through the lead cities representing us in their parts of the world and in conjunction with NGOs and UN to disseminate the facts of the bombings and the message of Hiroshima. We will steadfastly promote the new movement, stressing the humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons and seeking to outlaw them. We will help strengthen international public demand for the start of negotiations on a nuclear weapons convention with the goal of total abolition by 2020. The Hiroshima statement that emerged this past April from the ministerial meeting of the NPDI, the Non-Proliferation and Disarmament Initiative, called on the world's policymakers to visit Hiroshima and Nagasaki. President Obama and all the leaders of the nuclear-armed nations, please respond to the call by visiting the atomic bomb cities as soon as possible to see what happened with your own very eyes. If you do, you will be convinced that nuclear weapons are an absolute evil, and that must no longer be allowed to exist. Please stop using the inhumane threat of this absolute evil to defend your countries. Rather, apply your resources to a new security system that's based on trust and dialogue. Japan is the only atomic bomb nation. Precisely because our security situation is increasingly severe, our government should accept the full weight of the fact that we have avoided war for 69 years thanks to the noble pacifism of the Japanese constitution. We must continue as a nation of peace in both word and deed, working with other countries towards the new security system. Looking towards next year's NPT review conference, Japan should bridge the gap between nuclear weapon and non-nuclear weapon states to strengthen the NPT regime. In addition, I ask the government to expand the black rain areas and by providing more caring assistance, show more compassion to the Hibakusha and all those suffering from the effects of radiation. Here and now, as we offer our heartfelt consolation to the souls of those who sacrificed to the atomic bomb, we pledge to join forces with people the world over, seeking the abolition of the absolute evil, nuclear weapons, and the realization of lasting world peace. August 6, 2014, Matsui Kazumi, Mayor, the city of Hiroshima. Thank you.
Thank you, Harun. We're now very privileged to have the reading of an original poem created by Winnipegger Marie Rodriguez for this occasion. I've had the privilege of reading it, and it is a great privilege to be able to introduce her now. Marie Rodriguez.
And good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. My name is Marie Rodriguez. I also go by as Mari. I do a lot of things, and I speak, and I write, and I recite poetry. And so tonight I was invited, and I was very privileged to be here to read a poem that I wrote for this event tonight, and I hope you enjoy. This poem is called Wanting to Be Peaceful, and it'll speak for itself. It's easier to close your eyes and not see it. Cover your ears to not hear it, and close your lips and hope silence can change it. Until you're blinded by a flash, feeling your way through the fire and the flames, deafened by a blast that seems to stop everything in its tracks. Like a movie scene in slow motion, where sparks are flying, the fire is burning, and disaster striking places where people once called home, buildings, areas, and streets where people could freely roam. Children who once ran around and played, that worried about scraped dreams and, well, scraped knees and big dreams, have their hearts broken, their world shattered, and their lives forever changed because of one fateful day. A day where cherry blossom bloomed and the structure stood up tall, but still standing as best as it could, no matter how much fear and no matter how much a blast could sweep through an entire city, destroying everything in its path. Like the people who still stood up while still shaken, trying to move forward from a blast where everything else was taken. And though we wish we can go back in time to rewrite the course of history back in 1945 and give life back to the ones lost, wondering why and trying to find an answer at any cost. Throughout it all, we can still wonder and try to understand why certain things must always happen to our fellow man, trying to do what we can to make amends, only to hope that we don't repeat what was done, and instead of standing alone, we'll stand together as one. Wanting to live together in peaceful harmony, light lanterns for the ones lost, and wish on 1,000 paper cranes and up upon shooting stars. We'll continue to fight, not in wars, but for ourselves to be free from them, to gain the courage and to find the strength to be peaceful and free until the end. Because peace is tranquility. Peace is a calm and quiet moment in the absence of violence. Peace is sweet serenity and a little white dove hovering above you, calming all of your worries. It is always wanted, but it's hard to attain, hidden quietly underneath the war and the pain. Peace is to make things whole after crumbling into pieces. But sometimes peace is.
Thank you so much, Marie. I'd like to take this moment also to thank Brian Cox, who once again has led us and taught us how to fold paper cranes. And in a few minutes, Shane Nestruck is going to provide wonderful music as we launch the lanterns. Thanks to all of them and to all the volunteers who made this evening possible. We'd like to proceed with the ceremony now by calling upon Terumi Kuwada, who's past president of the National Association of Japanese Canadians and a pillar of the Winnipeg community, who's going to talk to us about the significance of the lantern ceremony.
I don't know about the rest of you, but Mari's words really struck a chord with me. And I think of so many graphic images that came into my mind as she was reading this very powerful poem that I think speaks to why all of us are here. We're here because we believe in peace, because we believe that we can make a difference. And there is tremendous terror and violence that goes on in war. And that is something we all need to acknowledge, that it impacts all of us, and that we need to always remember what kinds of things we can do to make this world a better place. So thank you all for coming tonight. And all the time, somebody asked me just a while ago how long I've been involved in this event, and it's been over almost 25 years that I've participated in this very important remembrance to the Hibakusha of Japan. And in the years before, we used to have the ceremony at the Taché Promenade docks and launch our lanterns on the river. And a tremendous, powerful image of these lanterns floating down the river. And I think in many other communities all over the world tonight, they are celebrating peace. And hopefully that we can all at one time say that we are in a world that is safe for children, that is safe for the future, and we can celebrate that we were all part of that change. And as this event goes on all over the world, we can make a difference, and I know we can. There was a few things that I was going to mention that just for you to know, and I think many of you do know, that Winnipeg is a signator to the Mayors for Peace. The former Mayor Glenn Murray signed on the declaration many years ago. And Winnipeg is a signator to this wonderful group of people who are trying to make the world a better place for all of us. I think we are here to, of course, remember the terror and the suffering that the Hibakusha went through during the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And there were, of course, many people who perished during that time as well. And as I remember when I was in the Hiroshima Peace Park a couple of years ago, the Peace Park is always a tremendous tribute to Japan's efforts to bring peace to the world. And when we do origami and we do paper cranes, it is a symbol of all of us trying to contribute to world peace. The story of Sadako and the 1,000 paper cranes is something children learn in schools all over North America and the world. And this is a true story of a little girl who believed that she was going to get better because she had acquired cancer from the effects of the atomic bomb. And she believed in a story, in mythology, that if you made 1,000 paper cranes, your wish would be granted. And her wish was to become well again. She died before she could complete 1,000 cranes, and her classmates finished that number for her. And every year, if you have ever been to Japan and gone to the Peace Park in Hiroshima, you will see that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of cranes that have come from school children all over the world, because those children believe that their world in the future will be a safe one, and they have hope, and they believe in hope, and they want to believe in hope, not despair. So the voices of children resonate with all of us. More than ever now, with the current climate of war that is raging all over the world today, we need to stand together. We need to stand together for the safety of innocent civilians who are perishing and suffering under a horrible circumstance. We need to stand with our military. We need to stand with men and women who fight in the name of war and suffer tremendous consequences for this. And we need to all be responsible and stand together to make this world a better place for our children and to be free of nuclear weapons. So we need to always be reminded why we want to make this world a different place for the future. Tonight we make lanterns and we show our respect to innocent victims of war, as well as many people we've lost through conflict and through illness and all sorts of circumstances that we have suffered these losses. The lantern ceremony is a custom within the Buddhist religion. And this custom goes like this, that every year around July, the spirits of your loved ones return to you. And there's a celebration of their lives and of your lives, having these loved ones back in your life to share the joy and the love that you had with each other. At the end of the day, these spirits must return to their home. And so we make a lantern so that we put a light to help them journey back, and we put food in their lantern, and we put other things that wish them well as they return to the spirit world. So as you launch your lantern tonight, think about what you want to do in messages to the world, in messages to your family, to your friends, to your neighbors, to everyone, that we all care about each other and that we do want to contribute always to a better world. I'm not sure where the wind is blowing. Where is it blowing now, Paul?
There is no wind. We're going to have to wave.
Okay, well, launching these lanterns may be a challenge for all of us. But, whether they sail along in the wind or whether they stand still, the message is the same. We light them because we believe we can make a difference, and we can believe that this world can be a better place. No wars, no nuclear weapons, no despair, and no hatred. So when we start to launch our lanterns, I would like to request that if there are children in the audience still, that the children get to launch their lanterns first. They are our future, and they will start the launch. So I would ask that we start that launch in the next few minutes. I don't know if all the lanterns are lit. Are they, Paul? Okay, so if we could all gather where the lanterns are. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight and contributing to a cause that is so worthy and making a difference in this world. Thank you so much.